Just when we think we have everything figured out and we are ready to cruise, Judge Mary Day, the federal judge in Florida, finally decides the case in Florida versus the CDC. You will be surprised, matter of fact, probably astonished at the ruling and its impacts for cruising in Florida and possibly throughout the country. Let's talk about the latest decision and how it impacts cruising right now on Island Time. Welcome back to Island Time. I am your host, Derek. It is great to spend some time with you on this Saturday, 2 weeks away from the Carnival Vista leaving the port, and of course 2 weeks tomorrow from the Carnival Horizon leaving the port of Miami. It is so much fun to be a part of these groups and to see the passengers get ready. And they're talking about what the weather is going to be like. They're finalizing their excursions. It is so much fun and we are excited. But just when we think we know what cruising is going to look like, we know what is going to be expected, Judge Mary Day, who last week made it sound like it was going to be after July before a ruling was going to be handed down because it gave the CDC some more time to look at the conditional cell order. Late last night, he throws the conditional cell order out. We have so much to talk about. Many of you have already asked, what does this mean for cruising? We're going to break it all down right now, okay? Let's mention this first. The state of Florida started this case last April. Last April, the state of Florida sued the CDC and said that the CSO was something that we shouldn't have to go by. It was an overreach of power by the CDC. And for months, this case has been in court. There's been both sides trying to agree on a new conditional cell order, and it's been unsuccessful. So let's look at this, okay? First thing I want to mention was that this ruling decided only affects Florida as of today. This is a win for the state of Florida. If you're sailing out of Texas, this has nothing to do right now with the state of Texas. But the big question is, since this was a victory for the state of Florida, will other states jump in and follow suit? We could most definitely see that. But let's talk about what we know right now, okay? So, Judge Mary Day, late Friday, late yesterday, froze the CDC's stringent reopening schedule and activities and document known as the Conditional Cell Order, the CSO. Okay, the Conditional Cell Order had 4 phases for the resumption of cruising. We are, of course, almost at the end, some ships anyway, the ships sailing in July are almost to phase 4 of the CSO. They are at the, do we want to have simulated voyages or do we want to have vaccinated guests? If you have vaccinated guests, you can cruise. Phase 4 is cruising. You can go. That's where we are at. But Judge Mary Day, he's come out and he's judged. That is his job to judge, and that is exactly what he's done. Late last night, he let all of us know that he set a preliminary injunction against the CDC, restricting them and removing the CSO from cruise ships in Florida. Meaning, essentially, that if a cruise ship was in Florida today at any of the beautiful ports in Florida, basically it could cruise. That's what it says. Is that going to happen? Of course, no. But essentially, that's what it says. A ship could leave today with no vaccine requirements, no testing requirements, because what Judge Mary Day said was the conditional cell order and all the details within the CSO has moved from something of a governing document, and the CDC as a governing body, to recommendations. The CSO now in the state of Florida is a set of recommendations from the CDC to cruise lines to do on a cruise to prevent the spread of COVID-19. It is so interesting. Let's get into what the judge says, okay? The judge says that beginning on July the 18th, so some of the cruises that are July 4th on, of course, the horizon, and subsequent cruises is before July 18th. But beginning July 18th, the rules will persist as only a non-binding consideration, recommendation, or guideline, the same tools used by the CDC when addressing the practices in other industries such as hotels, casinos, airports, sports venues, subways, bus stations, etc. Okay? They are recommendations. They do not have power, binding power for the CDC. Judge Mary Day also wrote that COVID no longer threatens the public health to the same extent presented at the start of the pandemic in 2020, last spring, last summer, and in the fall, or when the CDC issued the conditional sell order in October. So Judge Mary Day said it's an outdated document. It's a document that made sense at a particular time, but that time to cruise under those conditions have passed. If cruising would have started last October, November, December, then that document would have been a great binding document. The protocols within the document would have made sense. They would have been necessary. But Judge Mary Day says that in June of 2021, it doesn't make sense to go by that set of rules and that set of protocols. And additionally, he ruled that the CDC did not have the power and the jurisdiction to uphold those rules and orders to cruise lines. Of course, there's been all sorts of reaction. Governor DeSantis, who we've mentioned several times, is a huge cruise proponent. He loves cruise lines. He's been very good to cruise lines. He's dedicated state money over the years to these ports and to anything that could help the cruise industry because of the number of jobs in the state. He was criticized for this case because some people thought that Governor DeSantis, by his actions in this case, was slowing down the restart of cruising because he really felt like there should not be a vaccine passport. There should not be any law or agency like the CDC who says you have to be vaccinated to cruise, and you have to show us that you're vaccinated. And so he's been praised by some, he's been ridiculed by some, but here's what he had to say on this decision by Judge Mary Day. Today we are securing the victory for Florida families, for the cruise industry, and for every state that wants to preserve its right in the face of unprecedented federal overreach. And that was the whole case the entire time, was that Governor DeSantis said that the CDC does not have the power to reach into these individual states and tell them, in particular industries like the cruise industry, how they are to conduct business. So what's next? That's a big question. So many of you have reached out and said, what does this mean? What are we doing? First off, we all have to take a step back, especially those at Carnival Cruise Lines, those at Royal Caribbean International. It's a step back because they have to see now, what does this mean for cruising starting July the 18th? But you also have to try to look at and predict the next steps. And here's what we know is going to happen next, okay? The CDC can propose a narrower injunction to the state of Florida and, of course, to the judge there that is maybe a narrow set of rules that they would like to see cruise lines go by, but it's not this broad overreach and power that they currently have. If they want to propose something, they have 2 weeks to do it. And I assume that they will try to go that route and propose something to the judge and to the state of Florida. But the CDC is really, really big on vaccinations. And Florida's number one issue with the entire case and why it was brought to court was vaccinations. So it's going to be interesting to see what the CDC brings forward and what's accepted by the judge, but he has given them 2 weeks to provide some sort of narrow guidance. And if they have some oversight for the cruise industry, what does the CDC exactly want it to be? What would it be? I could see the CDC really focusing on the port agreements piece, that cruise lines, they have the ability and the freedom now, especially in the state of Florida, to sell. But the CDC may want the cruise lines to work with the local ports, which the CDC has already suggested and is being done, part of the conditional sale order. But they may focus on really, if there is an outbreak of COVID on board, what's it look like? What are the mitigation steps? What are your protocols? And can you guarantee that that a ship that left a port can indeed come back to port and get the support from the local port in town that it needs to transfer those who are infected to the hospital and get others off safely off the ship so they can go home? I could see them maybe going that route instead of this discussion on vaccines, because clearly the judge ruled in favor for Florida and not the CDC on vaccinations. The judge has also told both the state of Florida and the CDC to enter mediation, to meet together, to try to work through this. Of course, this has happened for months now. The CDC, the state of Florida, and cruise lines, they've been meeting together. That's why, and then nothing's, I won't say nothing's come from it, because we are at a very good place now as ships are set to leave in 2 weeks. So things have come from it, but there are some big things that just can't be negotiated by either side. And that's why, and that's when, a judge has to step in and make a decision like has been done here. We can only assume that other states will follow suit. Maybe the state of Texas. We know Governor Abbott has signed into law a similar vaccine passport law. It's in fact in place now. But they may follow suit, especially that there's now a roadmap or a blueprint of how to do this and win a case against the CDC. So we are going to stay in tune and in touch with what's going on. We will update you on what cruise lines think about this and what further news we have, because this, of course, is not the end, but it's just so hard to finally believe and see that a ruling has been handed down. And then, in fact, the conditional sale order in the state of Florida is not there. It is crazy to see. A couple other things on our show today. We are so excited to see, finally, we helped some families with this, but we're so excited to see that families on the July 3rd and July 4th cruises out of Galveston and Miami did in fact receive their exemption letters, that families were notified within the last 48 hours that they are indeed cruising. We are so excited about that. It is so fun to see families and children on board. Although, if you ask cruisers, we don't want too many of them because we like the hot tubs and the pools too. But it is fun to see families make memories together. I know that when I was young, my family, we never left the state of Arkansas until I was in my 20s. I left the state, just didn't have the opportunity or the means to do so. And so I took Mom on a cruise a couple of years ago. I'm hoping to go with my twin brother and my sister one day and experience a family vacation that literally we've never got to do before. So I always enjoy watching families on cruise lines. And then I wanted to review Carnival's, some of their protocols. We've had a lot of questions about Carnival protocols, and they change so frequently. It really is tough to keep up with. But I do want to mention a few things that we've been asked both on Facebook and YouTube. We've been asked a lot about priority boarding, and we had a video that kind of shared what priority boarding is going to look like in July and August. And some of you said, no, that is not right. There is no priority boarding. There is, but it looks different. If you are diamond and platinum and even suite guest, you're going to be able to check in early. Okay, right now, check-in is set up at 14 days before your cruise date. But if you are diamond and platinum, and maybe other groups, we're going to see if casinos, considered in this, but you are able to check in 16 days ahead of your sale date. What does that mean? Well, if you check in 16 days or 15 days before your sail date, then you're going to be able to select a time. The earliest time possible that we've seen is 10:30 a.m. that you can get to the port, you can check in and begin to board the ship. If you wait until 14 days when everyone can check in, that 10:30 time slot is not going to be there. It's going to say 12 to 12:30, 12:30 to 1. And so the priority boarding does look different, but essentially what it is that you get the earliest, you get access to the earliest time slots to get onto the ship. And so everyone at that 10:30 and 11 o'clock and maybe 11:30 time slot should be diamond and platinum in all those groups who have what we know as priority boarding. So that is how Carnival is doing priority boarding. Okay, you can call it priority if you want to, but they are giving those groups who used to have access to priority boarding access now to the first time slots to check in and board the ship. Again, there are no masks required on the ship. We were told yesterday and in previous days as well, that was hinted that you will have to wear a mask to check into the port. When you go through security, you're going to be asked to wear a mask. When you wait at the terminal and you're sitting anxiously awaiting to get on the ship, you're going to have to wear a mask. But literally, as John Hild said yesterday, when you walk across that gangway and you step foot onto the ship, he said you could rip the mask off. There are no masks on the ship, but bring one so you have one in the terminal. Also, vaccinated guest. This is on Carnival's website. Vaccinated guest. When we go to a port, when we go to Cozumel or Belize or Mahogany Bay in Honduras, you are free to get off the ship and explore the country via a Carnival excursion or independent service. If you want to go to a local beach via taxi, go for it. If you want to book a local excursion, go for it. But Carnival does give the caveat that we have to follow local guidance. So if local islands want us to wear masks, we've got to wear masks. Okay, I would suggest buy the gaiters that go around your neck and you can pull up. It's a different material and it would feel much better than a mask maybe that goes over your face, the cloth mask. So we are so excited to be able to explore the ports, enjoy the beaches, either with Carnival or through our own means. That is all we have today for Island Time. We hope you enjoyed the content. If you have not already done so, please subscribe. That will guarantee that you see our latest content when it is uploaded, and we try to do so very often, as you know. If you have any questions about today's video, the content, or questions about cruising, please let us know, either here or our Facebook page, which is in the description below. We will do all that we can to help your cruise be enjoyable and to answer your questions in regards to cruising. Thank you so much, and we hope that you have a great weekend. Happy Father's Day to all you dads. We will see you soon right here on Island Time.